Have you ever saw your credit score change drastically and change radically in either direction, whether it went up radically, which is what many people want, or go down radically? It boils down to a few different things, and it helps if you understand how credit works. So I definitely want to make the free credit class available down below so you can take full advantage of it and maximize your credit score and understand how credit works, so that way you don't get taken advantage of or bamboozled by anybody telling you certain things. That said, to the downside of credit is a couple of things that can cause a significant jump. And I'll tell you by up to how many points as well. So, number one, if you've had a radical drop, it could be due to a late payment. Late payments can hurt your score significantly. Sometimes people think they can just pay things whenever they want to pay things, but in our actuality, if you do that, then you find yourself making late payments, and that can drop your score over 100 points. Really, it could position you to lose up to 192.5 points, because payment history is responsible for that many points, which is 35% of your score. So you making a late payment can drop your score significantly, especially if that particular account reports to all three credit bureaus. Because if it reports to all three bureaus, now you can see a 100-point drop here, 90-point drop there, 80-point drop there, or more, all because of a late payment. Another thing that can drastically and radically drop your score is having a collection to hit, which stems from late payments, because late payments eventually, if not taken care of, turn into collections. But a collection hitting your account for the very first time can drop your score radically. Same is true with a charge off. Same is true with bankruptcy. Same is true with a repo. All of these things can drop your score radically instantly, just because of the nature of that thing. It falls into the payment history category, but it's such an eyesore on your credit report. And when lenders are looking to borrow you or loan you money, they look and see, okay, what's going on with the profile? Why do they have late payments? Can we trust them to have or pay us back? That's what they're looking at. They're looking at your credibility. They want to know if you can pay them back. And the only way for them to tell that is to look at your report. And if your report has any evidence of late payments, collections, charge-offs, then you look like a high-risk borrower. And they look at it like, I don't know if I want to let them borrow any money. So they're likely to decline. So all of those things are based on previous habits, previous things that you've done, which is why it hurts your score pretty significantly as well, because they want to be able to filter out and weed out people who are more likely to be able to pay them back versus who's not. And if you fall in the middle like that, like, okay, it's a high chance they'll be able to pay me back even if their score isn't the greatest, they'll still loan you the money, but usually at a higher interest rate. And they make a lot of money off of subprime lending, basically lending to people who have less than a particular credit score. So they make a lot of money in that area. But your goal is to understand how everything works, so that way you're not caught off guard when you see such a radical drop. Now, on the flip side of things, and I'll say this all together, on the flip side of the things that I said can drop your score, another thing that can drop your score, but it can also be the very thing that radically increases your score, is credit cards. Now, I'm not saying a credit card will radically drop your score. I'm not saying a credit card will radically boost your score. However, what I'm about to say can radically drop it and boost it, but you have control over it. And that's understanding. For one, you want to get credit cards that have higher limits, but you want to understand how to properly use the credit card and have a low balance. If you can have less than 5% utilization on your credit card, then that has the potential to radically increase your score up to 165 points, because that's responsible for 30% of your score. Lines of credit, credit cards, things of that nature, is responsible for 30% of your score. But you have control, because like I stated, yes, it can boost your score up to 165 points, or depending on where you are, you might pay it down and it boosts your score 50 points, 100 points, but it can also drop your score if you've maxed out your credit cards, or if you overutilized that card. Instead of having a less than 5% balance, let's say it reported a 60% balance. So if you had a $5,000 credit card, and then you use majority of it, that would be $3,000. Now you got 60% utilization of a $5,000 credit card. That can drop your score over 100 points just by having a high limit. So it works on both ends, but credit utilization is powerful due to the fact that you are in control. So yeah, it might have dropped your score X amount of points, but now you know what you need to do. And that's get that balance back down below 5%. So you can not only save a ton on interest, but boost your score in the right direction strategically. So if you've ever noticed your score dropping or increasing radically, it's probably one of those things that I mentioned before. Other things can nick at it and do certain things, but those things can radically drop your score. It's a couple of things that can radically boost your score, as well as those things that can radically drop your score. Getting those items removed can radically boost your score. If you get those items removed, you can boost your score in the right direction as well. I just wanted to drop in and share that with you because I know somebody can benefit and relate. Salute.